Hey guys, welcome to Burrito. I'm Devin,
And I'm Max.
and on today's episode of Breakfast Burrito, we're going to be talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, Max's favorite. Um,
Generation Next.
oh god. Yeah, so we did the video on Arc 5, and I realized something when prepping for that video. I actually think it's better than GX. And then I took to the internet to, see some fleeting opinions on the two. And, you know, GX doesn't actually seem to be as well received as we would think because, like, I mean, we grew up with it, right?
Yeah,
But it seems to be the perfect nostalgia bait, right?
I couldn't argue that at all. If you asked me like which Yu-Gi-Oh series I'd want, it'd be Duel Monsters. But right after that, the rewatch would be GX, just because I personally play Elemental Heroes, and that's what really got me into playing the card game to begin with. So I guess I'd be the ultimate nostalgia fan in that aspect.
Yeah, but I don't want to take away from the show because I do think it is a very good show. Um, so I want to go ahead and get started. What we're going to be talking about today are the characters, and obviously we can't talk about all of them. We're going to talk about probably two each. We're going to go over the plot briefly, just to give a little synopsis of what the show's about, and then we're going to rate how entertaining the duels are for a Yu-Gi-Oh show, and then we're gonna bring it back to rating the show as a whole and give you a honest opinion of the show out of 10 whatever, and then give like a two sentence summary as to whether you should or should not watch it from each of us. Does that work for you, Max?
Works whatever you think, man.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. First category is the characters. So Max, tell me about your favorite character in GX.
Well, you already know who it is because I play
Which,
his deck. It's
go ahead.
Jade and Yuki.
Okay.
And one of the first things I remember as a kid when I originally started watching the show, because I watched it, I'm going to go a little bit also when I was a kid watching it and when I recently watched it. But when I was a kid, I loved Jade and Yuki originally for two reasons. One, I thought he was related to Yugi. I really did in the beginning. And number two, I was like, oh man, he using superheroes? Wait, there are superheroes in Yu-Gi-Oh? Hold up. And then there I go watching the entire series as a kid.
Yeah, I think it's funny because he had like the character quirk where he would call his monsters special effects superpowers. He was like, yeah, and Wildheart has a superpower that he's unaffected by trap cards. And it was like, it was like a nice little quirk, a character quirk of his. Um, so
I thought
tell
it was
me,
creative.
so tell me about some positives of Jaden.
Well, I kind of like in the beginning just like how he thinks he's going to be like the next king of games, as every person entering this dual academy thinks. Tough love, you can only be one. Unfortunately, Jaden got all the screen time, so he's the main character, so he's got the best shot. But one of the things I really do like is just like his mindset of wanting to always strive to be the best at dueling. And it doesn't matter who he's going up against, that he just wants to have fun and win.
Hmm.
I guess, which is nice because like in the beginning, it's a nice change of pace from Battle
Well,
City, where it's like the end of the world is at stake here.
the one thing I will say about Jaden's character specifically is the fact that I actually don't think he's striving to be the best duelist. I think he's striving to have fun dueling, but he happens to be a sore loser. Um,
Not just a sore loser. The man went through PTSD the first time he lost.
yeah, he couldn't see his cards anymore. This is one of the negatives I'll say about him. He's very reminiscent of a Pokemon protagonist, like in the game. How when you lose, you black out, but net recently it's whiting out. And that's that's kind of messed up, like.
It's just a card game, man. You're playing in school. You're supposed to lose once in a while. This is education.
Especially when he loses the first time. Well, when he loses to Zane, he's okay with it, right? Which is weird because when he loses to Aster, like he takes that L hard. He goes to the nurse. He can't see his cards. He can't read them. This man just sees white boxes. And I think again, Jaden. I think the worst part about him is he's a sore loser, and that comes back later on when he wins but loses, and he ends up becoming the Supreme King. I will say that's probably one of the coolest dynamics, and we'll talk about that a little bit more under plot. But for the main character to become the main villain. That wasn't expanded upon again until Arc 5, and I think in Arc 5 it was done a little bit better, but, the groundwork was there from GX. Um, would you agree or disagree?
Oh no, I completely agree with that because I remember when finding out Jaden was the Supreme King, I was like, oh, hold up, and like the character development that he had after the whole Supreme King thing, I thought was done really well though, because you go through this whole thing of him feeling guilt for sacrificing everybody for Super Poly, which I totally understand because Super Poly was banned for a long time and is a very good card.
Oh, it's an
So
excellent
like,
card.
yeah, like
Oh,
I can see why it required the sacrifice of several people.
I
Like
really
I did like how afterwards you see how like the guilt he feels for, literally killing off a bunch of
yeah.
people to get a card. And I thought it was
Jaden,
just a
go ahead.
I just thought it was a great way though to like really like have his character grow and develop at that point.
Yeah. I feel kind of bad for Jaden. Specifically because he's like that, like you said before, he's like that kid who's like wide-eyed and full of wonder, and he wants to excel in this game that he loves. But you see, like, around season 2, he starts to fall out of love with the game, and he's doing it for survival. He's doing it to save people. He's doing it to solve problems. And it's not until he meets Jesse that he starts dueling again for himself. Like, and then after he loses Jesse, this man goes off the deep end. He's just like, they're like, Jaden, all you have to do is not rush off by yourself. If we all go together, they can't capture us, or like they can't beat us all. And he's like, I hear you, but zoom zoom. Like,
Yeah, but one thing I did like though, it's you could take it as a correlation also to like people in the real world, like in terms of the sports they play, when they originally start playing their sports, for instance, for fun or just enjoying it, but then it becomes like this whole big serious thing as they keep getting older, where training becomes part of like a grind and a routine, and doesn't it stops becoming fun for a lot of people.
well,
It's
that's
got
that's why I don't run anymore. I used to love running, personally, but running became too much work. Um,
Yeah, and that's why I sometimes like I love tennis still, but sometimes I find myself getting burnt out sometimes from wanting to play all the time.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I'm like I need a couple weeks off from it now because I played so hard and burnt myself out so much. And I
yeah,
don't
and
regret those decisions. I don't.
yeah,
But it's now like I'm done with that chapter of my life's kind of done, so I kind of just do it once in a while to enjoy the sport now, not to.
yeah, and it's funny you say that. It's funny you say that, right? Because like Jaden literally at the end of the series, he doesn't go pro with some of the others. He doesn't graduate with everyone. He doesn't attend the party. He literally goes on a soul searching journey by himself, and his friends write him a letter that we're here when you need us, kind of thing, you know?
We'll see you
And
when you see it kind of deal.
yeah, and it's kind of sad. It's like bittersweet. It's like, okay, at least now he's, here, but what's he got?
Yeah.
Um,
But I
so
kind of like how they ended
but
that though
but we
overall.
but we should move on a little bit to another character. I want to talk about Zane.
I'm
Um,
happy you brought him up.
because Zane or nah, yeah, I'm just saying dub names. I'm sorry, you sub watchers. But the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX dub is really magic because it's so stupid sometimes.
Yo, that
Um,
one kid who was saying "You want my mommy" or whatever, the really buff dude, the kid voice.
that wasn't even a kid. That was a grown man. He
I
was
don't
like
know, man.
he was like one of the most dominant underground duelists, and he. My mommy says I have to beat you. Like, bruh, are you kidding
Yo,
me?
honestly, I remember when you watched that scene again, you immediately sent me a message. You're like, "Bruh, what did they do to this man?"
My mommy says you're a poopy head. Like, bruh. I mean, I
But
get it. It was definitely censorship. They censored him because he was like a super masochist in the sub. He was like, "Yes, shock me." Ugh! Like, and I get not wanting a weird man wearing BDSM gear grunting and moaning at electricity on screen.
kids gotta learn somehow, right?
No, they don't. Anyway. So back to Zane. He is this super prodigy who's amazing at dueling. He's the most dominant person, and honestly, he's the only person with a competitively viable deck from that time. Let's be completely honest here.
What you're saying, Cyrus's like whatever they were called weren't
Cyber Dragon.
competitive?
Oh
No,
wait, Cyber what?
Cyrus, his younger brother.
Oh, Roids.
Yeah, the Royals. You saying they weren't competitive?
No, they have like 8 billion cards, and none of them do anything.
What are you talking? They do something. Lose.
You're right. You're right. You got that. So the thing is, Zane had this character arc where he starts out as the best duelist in the school, and he's super prodigy, number one in his class, and he recognizes Jaden as the only duelist that's worthy of dueling him, right, in the academy, because he's so far beyond the rest of the school's level that he just, stomp out no jutsus everybody. And so he does his graduation duel with Jaden. It ends in a draw. It's really cool. He beats Jaden a little bit before that, but that gives Jaden the insight to know his strategy, and it still only gets him a draw, right?
I will
And
say
then,
there was one gripe I did have with that duel, and I don't mean to go off topic here, but when Zane said you're dueling with your mind, not your heart, I'm like, no, he is playing actual strategy, and you just have the counters to it. That is how the game is played.
But notice when he stopped thinking, the reason why I understand the scene for what it is because in the show it's already established that Jaden is a instinctual duelist, not a he's just good instinctually. He's not good in a sense that like he has.
I get it, but he was actually making good ideas and plays.
Oh, I agree. I agree. They were the right plays, but they were and then he was hungry. They gave him an egg witch they called timeout and gave him an egg witch, and then they got back to the duel. Anyway, so Zane acknowledges Jaden. They have their duel, the graduation duel, and he graduates. Then he moves on to pros. He's like the number 1 draft pick overall. And then he realizes he ain't shit.
Which I loved personally.
Yeah, he got stomped out by Aster Phoenix day 1 of his debut game of his career, and then he goes on a downward spiral and loses a couple more games because he's like, wait, has my skill been a lie? And then
or they could have given him a fodder opponent for his debut game to get his confidence up, kind of like in football when you have Joe Burrow go against the Jets. Same idea, easy dub, we move on. I'm a Jets fan, by the way, hate my life, here we are.
And so the thing is, he loses to some fodder duelists after that, because of the fact that he's so psyched out at the fact that he just got stomped out. Matter of fact, I think that's the first game we see Disc Commander.
Disc Commander, very good card. There's a reason it's banned.
Not anymore. It's not banned anymore. It was errated to be a hard once per duel.
Yeah, good thing they did, because you could spam that shit.
So, but the thing about that is, his manager blackmailed him into joining these underground duels where he started wearing like a choker and like these cuff
and
things.
Leather and
he's already wearing leather. Come on. Zane goes into these underground duels and he realizes, I like hurting people. This is fun. And apparently in the show, going all out against your opponents and not holding back is like disrespectful, because that's what Zane starts doing. He's like, I don't need respect for my opponents. But I argue if you hold back against your opponent, you're not respecting them, right? Like,
I argue the same thing usually, because that's how I learned.
Yeah, unless you're teaching them how to play, in which case like you play at their level and then slowly move up so that they understand, because it's not a good way to teach people, especially in a game this complicated. You trying
to bring up how I was taught?
Yeah, it's not good to teach people by stomp out no jutsuing them.
30 times, but here we are.
It was 26. Relax. You're just Yuma.
I did get better eventually after I got somebody else to teach me.
Yeah, but anyway. So Zane realizes he's good at beating the bricks off of people, and he even joins his old school's tournament. And he even changes his deck to a slightly worse deck, or not slightly, a significantly worse deck until recently, the Cyber Darks. And the reason why, and now he has heart problems, and so his whole last arc is him trying to find a worthy duel for him to go out on, because he only has one duel left in him. And that culminates in Jesse Possess Yubel versus Zane, which is one of the coolest duels in all of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah.
When he summons the 16,000 attack points Cyber End Dragon, Yubel is shook.
Everybody is shook. Like how many attack points?
16,000.
I know.
Yubel is sweating. Like, she leaves talking about some like, and I'm pretty sure in the sub she throws up, but again, I can't confirm or deny that. I've never seen the scene, but from
To
what
be
I've been told,
fair, I would too, going up against that at that moment.
it's the same way Merrick threw up after dueling Joey in the sub, but not in the dub. But regardless, like after that duel, like he summons the monster and his heart gives out. So he loses the duel. And everyone else in that arc, if they died, they were like sent to another dimension. But Zane had a heart attack. He didn't die like anyone else. Like for all intents and purposes, he should be gone. And then he's not.
Which I think ruined everything there. I think he should, like him dying in that moment, I think was the best way for him to go out.
Because he comes back and he can't duel duel again anyway, because he's like wheelchair bound. But they say like eventually you'll get eventually your heart will get stronger, and it's whatever. Like he's singing some Celine Dion, his heart will go on. But
man's rich enough already. He's good. He's set for life.
So I think they fumbled the bag with the end of his story. Whereas I think Jaden's story was pretty good. The beginning is like, it's a good establishing shot. But see, now we already have two diametrically opposed characters where they end up in two very different spots, like in terms of audience satisfaction.
And can we bring up a third one though?
Yes, go ahead.
Also, I think is very different than the two, and it's not better than the one that stomped both of them out, gave one PTSD, and gave one a huge slump. Aster Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's as important as someone as like, say, Chaz. So we'll like lump both of them together right now.
Because they're both the rival character.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because Chaz, Aster, and Zane are all offshoots of Seto Kaiba's personality. Because they didn't want to go without the Seto Kaiba type characters.
But they also won.
Yeah, but they did three, and I think I'd argue they did all three of them well.
Chaz is one of my favorite characters.
I think Chaz was wasted in some parts because I'm not the biggest fan of the Ojamas, because you guys know I don't really love gag characters too much. It's the reason why I don't really like Jiraiya from Naruto. But anyway, Chaz and Aster serve pretty good rival characters and rival functions for what they are, because Chaz has this whole redemption arc where Aster is a revenge story, And
what I really like they did with Chaz, especially though, I like the whole dynamic between him and his brothers, especially when we find out, because originally we just think he's just this random jerk, but then it turns out he has this whole little brother complex to his two older brothers not being as good as them, supposedly. Because I think he was better than his brothers, but...
Well, no, that's only in dueling, because one was a governor and the other one was what? He was a business mogul?
One of the top moguls in the world. But he has like this inferiority complex with them. Like throughout the series, you can see that he just wants to try and prove that he is as good as his brothers throughout it.
Yeah, it's because he has a responsibility to his family or something.
Yeah, they control like the three corners of the world, which dueling apparently is one of the three epicenters, which I get.
Yeah, in this world, there's literally multiple schools that are like pretty much the collegiate level for dueling. They're private universities for dueling.
Yeah, but anyway, though, like what I really like though is how the whole dynamic works with them looking down on him, saying like it's just dueling, you should be able to succeed in this, and then they try to take over the reins and conquer dueling, and then it finally culminates in him playing his brothers with literally no monsters with attack points, which I loved, and still stomping his brother out.
Stomp out Nojutsu.
There was just something so satisfying though about having that one monster probably that you use on me sometimes too.
I don't know what you're talking about.
The one that gets 300. No, sorry, I'm thinking of a different one, but the same idea.
Yeah, you were thinking of Gren Maju, but no,
yeah,
but that's not.
There was just something satisfying about him waiting it out and getting this like giant monster with 3,000 attack. The monsters his brothers were looking down on along with him, and just curb stomping them, and I was just like,
isn't that also the duel he uses Ojama Delta Hurricane?
Yeah, that's the first time he uses Ojama Delta Hurricane,
which is an excellent card. The issue is the setup is impossible.
But if you get the setup though.
Yeah, you got that. So, and on to Aster Phoenix, his story is literally Batman.
And the heroes he uses are literally DC based
No,
heroes.
they're based on UK comics, but like the darker UK comics. But
Yes.
they're dark. They're dark. You're right. You got that. And like he's looking for his dad's last card, and it turns out the guy who has it is his pretty much his stepdad.
And
His
mentor.
stepdad, yeah, his stepdad and mentor in dueling, who's the number one duelist at the time, right? Number
Yep.
one pro, and they have the duel for Destiny Hero Plasma, and I think
Very
that's
good card, by the way.
yeah. Oh, Plasma is excellent. It's a one-sided skill drain.
And also takes a monster.
Yeah, it's
That's
relinquished.
it's so good.
Yeah, so, but like, yeah, I think both of those rival characters are very important. And then I guess we could spend time. I mean, we're not going to do a lot because we should move on to plot and duels like now. But there are some characters that are pretty much wasted, like Bastion, Cyrus, and Alexis. They don't get to do a lot. Alexis isn't that bad because at least she's competent.
Yeah, but
When we see,
Bastion was completely wasted in the fact
correct.
that like he was treated in the beginning as like this really good prodigy that could have been a great duelist, and then they just kind of used him as gag relief.
Yeah, and that's all we're really going to say on that because again, we do have to move on to plot.
Yeah, and it's the
So
same thing we'd be stating over and over again about.
yeah, exactly. So the plot, and correct me if I miss anything, but I'm gonna give the super Spark Notes version.
All
The
right.
plot, the plot revolves around Jade and Yuki trying to enter Duel Academy, getting in, and then proceeding to have a filler arc in the very beginning. It's not really filler, but
It's essentially filler though.
they have the goofy school life section in the very beginning to establish how happy-go-lucky he is, and then they start going into these different plots of like the Dark Riders, and then the Sacred Beasts, and then his teacher being a reincarnation of some old spirit, and he has to save the world for the first time. Then the very next thing that happens is he has to save the world again from what was it?
Society of Light.
Yeah, the Society of Light, and it turns out he's the Gentle Darkness. They allude to the fact that he's the Supreme King in season 2, because when he defeats the Light of Destruction, they're like, oh, the only thing that could beat the Light of Destruction is the Gentle Darkness, and it's like, oh, what's the Gentle Darkness? We haven't heard anything like that. And then when Yubel is finally born, she comes back and this darkness is being fed on but from Jaden, because it turns out Yubel was Jaden's or the Supreme King's protector from a past life, and Jaden is a reincarnation of the Supreme King. And so Jaden loses all his friends, and instead of, doing the logical thing and defeating the people who want Super Poly, he goes, nah, I'm gonna sacrifice the world for Super Poly. And he does that.
Understandable. Very good card.
Yeah, and then his friends sacrifice themselves in order to bring him back, like because him and the Supreme King are sharing a body. Jaden is pretty unique in Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonist because he shares his body with two entities. It's Yubel and the Supreme King, but I'm getting ahead of myself. He uses Super Poly to fuse himself with Yubel, and now him and the villain are now in one body. And Jaden gets a very drastic character design change from season 1 to season 3. He looks more mature. His eyes are bigger. He looks almost a little more feminine, and his hair's a bit longer. But that's only after he takes in Yubel. And it's even noticed in the intros to the song, the intro songs, whatever. I'll put a picture of it on screen so you guys can see it. But I think that's a pretty cool, like, little bit of attention to detail, and that's why the design is different in Duel Links for Yubel Jaden and regular Jaden. And then the final arc, which was never dubbed, he fights against the concept of darkness, and I don't know if you know, that's a little wild, and I'm kind of glad that the 4th season was never dubbed, because I don't really like it.
It kind of lost itself in the 4th
Yeah,
season.
I think after season 3 was fine, but like I did watch the end because everyone else is out here dueling like Axel. Is it Axel Rhodes? No, Axel Rhodes is Alexis's brother. The black guy.
The sergeant guy.
No, not that one. The other black guy, Brody, right?
Oh, Brody, yeah.
I forget his first name, but his last name is Brody. I'm pretty sure.
Just stick with Brody.
Or I'll say the black guy. So he's the first one to duel the darkness, and it looks like he's winning, and then he gets OTK'd. It's random, and we already know that he's established as one of the stronger duelists, and he's one of the only duelists who gave Jaden like a crazy run for his money. But like you see the darkness going and taking down these like top tier characters, and then Jaden's just like in depression mode. He doesn't come out of his room, nothing. And then he finally duels the darkness, and then he goes off by himself. And everyone else like goes on to graduate all happy. And Jaden goes on a soul searching journey. And then he has the dream where he duels and loses to Yugi. But at least now he's in love with dueling again.
Did he lose to Yugi?
Slifer had 8,000 attack points, and he attacked it with Neos. Get out of my face.
But it never ended. We never saw the L.
You don't have to. That's an L.
No, I don't think it was an L.
He had no face downs, no cards in hand. It's an L.
No. It's called main character bull.
Good thing he's fighting the main character.
Yeah, main character versus main character. Who has a stronger pull with Destiny?
You forget when Yami...
I know.
Fate respected him so much that it just did what he said.
I know. I just wanted you to say that.
So, yeah. But, yeah, that's about it on the plot, right? Like, it's a pretty straightforward plot. It's nothing crazy for a Yu-Gi-Oh! Series. It took some risks, like the zombie thing,
Which I loved.
But it didn't do anything that's, like, exceptionally well, It's just...
Like, it was done. It was good for what it was.
Exactly. I think it's just good. Let's go to how entertaining the duels are. Think back to all of the GX duels. The very early ones, I don't think they're that entertaining. I think they're like a 3 out of 5, or like a 5 out of 10.
I think there was like a couple that were a little more creative than others.
Yeah.
Like the one where Yugi and Chaz duel for the first time officially.
You mean Jaden?
Yeah, Jaden. Sorry, when they duel each other for the first time officially in front of the entire school with the Wing Karibo to Wing Karibo level 10.
Yeah,
that one I give a higher mark to because that one was fun to watch.
Of course, but overall, they're like 5 out of 10.
Most of them, like some maybe 7 out of 10, depending on like which. Sure. Usually ones that Jaden was in.
Yeah, I think I actually would disagree because Jaden was in most of them. I believe it's actually some of the other characters. I will say like Chaz, Zane, Astro
Bastion
Phoenix.
versus Chaz.
Oh, and Bastion versus Chaz. I think actually duels that have less of a focus on Jaden are more entertaining because a lot of Jaden's duels are just for fun. Like the Moki Moki kid, that was stupid. The monkey, that was stupid. Anyway,
Moki Moki is busted. I learned though.
Moving on to season 2's duels, I would have to say those are a bit higher quality. I think overall
6 out of 10, 7 out of 10.
Yeah, like the 6, 7. I think season 3. There are some that are absolute flops, but I think overall, the like Braun, the Mad King, the other fiends that he fights, and then like the other guys trying to break him out of the Supreme King, like
those
I
were
think
all good.
I think those are like 8s, 9s. And then I think season 4 goes back down to like the 6, 7. But overall, I would say those are pretty good numbers. It averages out to 7 out of 10 for the overall majority.
Although they do have one duel, I think it's a 10 out of 10. That's Zane versus Possessed Jesse. That's a 10 out of 10.
Oh, for sure. I also think, what was it? There is one that I think is just hilarious.
Are you talking about the Chaz Love one?
No.
It has to be Moki Moki, right?
No, it's the one where Jaden and Aster team up against Sartorius.
Oh, that one was...
It's not that it's a great duel, it's that Jaden is so stupid, his quips are hysterical. Aster goes, "Oh, look, the moon's in the sky." And then Jaden goes, "Oh, I didn't know you were a werewolf." And I'm like, what? But yeah, so again, I think overall the duels are like 7 out of 10 across the board. There are some that are just goofy for the sake of being goofy.
The tennis one's one of those.
Yeah, but now we're just gonna go ahead and rate the show. So Max, give me 2 sentences and then rate it.
Great time to watch if you've grown up with it, but if you're more a modern Yu-Gi-Oh fan, might not be your kind of thing, I'd say. And then For me personally, it's like an 8 out of 10 for me. But like if I had to give it like for a general anime fan, 7 out of 10 probably.
Okay, yeah, that's. I mean, again, and this isn't to say that we don't like this show, because this is probably one of Max's favorite Yu-Gi-Oh series.
No, it is my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh
Oh yeah,
series.
see, there it is, there it is. So, and I do really like it. But I like all of the Yu-Gi-Oh series. Even Zexal.
The thing is,
Zexal. Go ahead.
I recognize some Yu-Gi-Oh series are better. They
Yeah,
are, but that doesn't mean they're my favorite.
correct. Yeah. And so for me, I think Yu-Gi-Oh GX. I think you should watch it because if you just like general anime and you're into the game of Yu-Gi-Oh at all, this would be a good show to watch. It's pretty fun. It's lighthearted. It doesn't take too much investment. Doesn't take too much thinking, and sometimes you can just turn your brain off for the show. I think it has some entertaining back and forth duels, and you will get a sense of Yu-Gi-Oh's history in the sense that some of these decks did end up becoming meta decks, like Alexis's deck, Cyber Angels. They end up being a meta ritual deck. Heroes, after much support, they ended up becoming a semi-relevant deck, and they're
Well,
even
Mass
relevant today.
Change.
Correct,
After
yeah.
Mass Change, woo! They became like top tier for a long time.
Cyber Dragons were top tier when they first came out, and they even teeter on Rogue and top tier today. So you do have that sense of, oh, this is where these decks come from in the show, and even fan favorites like Ojamas, even though they're not good,
They're
like.
rogue. Like they ran. Sometimes they make a random rogue deck or two that are actually competitive.
I mean, I wouldn't say all that, but yeah, essentially, yeah.
There's one or two I remember that have been rogue. They don't do that well, but they surprise people once or twice. And like somebody who's using like Dragon Rulers right now might lose if they sleep
Dragon
on
Link,
them too much. Dragon Link, not Dragon Rulers. Dragon Rulers will stomp out anything. But
not they're just bad. So
yeah,
but yeah, overall, if I had to rate the show, I would give it like a solid 7, like maybe 7.5. It's not a bad show. It's actually, I think it's pretty good. But in terms of the Yu-Gi-Oh series, I think it is technically on the lower end because we have DM, GX, 5Ds, Zexal, Arc 5, and Vrains. Oh, and I guess now Sevens, but I haven't seen that one yet.
neither have I. So
But of the other 6, I do think it's like, mm, I think it's like second or third to last. I'll give my actual ranking on like the Baka Burrito Instagram page or Twitter or something. But but yeah, I think you guys should give it a try. Check it out. It is very fun and super lighthearted for the most part. But yeah, we've been Baka Burrito. I'm Devin.
and I'm Max. Devin, sing us out with the outro.
No, but you can do the outro things about like and subscribe.
Wait, I'm doing it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment down below telling us what your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh series is, and if you want us to maybe talk about another one.
Oh, we're definitely gonna talk about another one, so you guys didn't really have a choice. But I hope you tune in.
And I hope you at least comment which one you want us to talk about next. That'd be cool.
All right. Have a good one, guys.